welcome to Will They, Won't They, a podcast for the hopeless
and the romantics.
Ooh, I'm Danielle.
I'm Katie.
And this week we are getting into
2 weeks notice.
I don't know what that energy was.
That was completely improvised. I know that's hard to believe.
Actually, there's a script right in front of us. Don't believe anything she says. As you can tell by how, put together every podcast is, we script it out. We don't at all. All of it's improvised.
Exactly. Scripted.
I just want to say thank you guys for your patience. I know we usually record on Friday or release new episodes on Fridays, but this week it was a little bit behind.
Yes.
Katie had a beautiful, lovely week.
Little romantic getaway to the mountains.
She had her own little rom-com.
Oh, yes,
she did.
darling.
And yes. I just sat thinking about what a good time Katie had. In my bed by myself.
Oh, no.
Me and my boyfriend cuddled.
Oh, no.
It's my purple vibrator.
Love that for you. Yeah, so Danielle was wonderful and flexible, and so we are recording a couple days later. But
we got a good one.
We got a motherfucking
This is a good movie. I haven't seen this movie, 2 weeks notice, in a decade. Mm-hmm. Because the movie is, you want to hear how old this movie is? It's 19 years old. It's 19 years old. It can legally drive and buy cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's insane. It can legally drive and buy cigarettes. Buy pornography.
Buy pornography.
Yeah.
If that's a thing you do at this point.
Be in the army.
Oh, yeah. Can't drink yet, but can serve its country. Okay,
so I wanted to make a disclaimer because this is one of my mom's and mine favorite movies. We always watch it together every time I'm with her. And I've probably seen it a billion times, but I feel like specifically it just warms our hearts, and it's something that we really share. We love Hugh Grant, so I have an extra soft spot for this movie. It is my of the atypical rom-com or the typical rom-com structure.
Yeah.
This is definitely my favorite one.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like not a lot of people have seen it, or it didn't get the acclaim sort of that a lot of other romantic comedies of that time did.
It flew under the radar.
It did, but it's really good. It's well written. It's so funny.
So cute.
Their dynamic and chemistry is
off the charts.
Gorgeous.
It's beautiful. I love Hugh Grant and Sandra Bullock. They're both starring in this movie.
Yes.
America's sweethearts, not from America.
I was going to say, she is, but
yeah,
he's definitely he is the American British ideal sweetheart.
Oh, 100, because everyone's I just want a British man, and it's girl, we all know you're talking about Hugh Grant.
Literally. I just feel like Hugh set such a standard.
Yeah.
For sexy, weird.
Yep.
Fumbling, bumbling, shithead men that we all want.
That, just pick on you, but it's so fun.
And he's funny, and he's just, he's, effortlessly charming.
I
love Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant,
really
if you're listening.
I know.
I think we already did Sandra Bullock, if you're listening, and Miss Congeniality.
And we're going to do it again, because Sandra Bullock, if you're listening.
We love your movies.
We love you.
You're going to hear it a lot.
You're just so beautiful and,
gorgeous.
I love her. Both of them. Great. It's so good.
How many times can we groan about how much we love these people?
And but I also feel typically romantic comedies are not critically acclaimed. They don't get sort of analyzed in a way that's taking a look at the acting.
Yeah.
But this movie, the acting is so good.
The acting, they're both such incredible actors.
The timing between them, and you really feel like they're real people.
Oh, 100%.
You're just watching,
yeah.
And even there's a fight scene that's ooh, you're oh my god.
Oh yeah.
This is real.
For a second when you said fight scene, I was do they fist fight each other? I was wait, MMA style?
Yeah, definitely. They actually get into a huge brawl. You missed that part?
It's a bar brawl.
Bar brawl.
Bra.
But yeah, they get into a
argument.
And it's okay, I fucking believe that.
Felt very real.
I believe that. They're good actors.
I believe that.
Romantic comedies are important. That's all I have to say. Goodbye. Episode over.
Podcast over. That's all we needed to accomplish. Rom-coms are important. Thank you. Bye. We bought these microphones specifically so we could say that into a computer.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly that.
Exactly that.
Should we get into it, vibes?
Yeah, we should definitely get into it for sure.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Into it.
Let's
Into it.
get into it. Let's get into it. Wait,
Hey.
is that our new jingle for getting into it?
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Well, only 10 episodes later, and we've hit our stride.
Baby, this is our 12th episode.
Oh, shoot. What is time?
We've done more, but.
And we've also done more because time isn't linear. So, like, we've done episodes and also haven't done episodes.
True.
So, what is time?
All right, so let's get it. No, I'm just kidding. We did it again.
I'll get started.
We just keep doing this the whole episode. We never get into it.
It's just an hour of us jingling.
Yeah, please.
I'll do the alto lines. Let's get into it.
No, you don't get words.
Let's get it.
Let's get into it. If you're an alto, I support you.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Because same.
Yeah. Okay. So, this movie takes place in the Great Big Apple, baby.
New York City. I'm
York
walking
City.
here.
City that never sleeps.
Oh, same.
I like that you said I'm walking here.
Hey, I'm walking
here. And Sandra Bullock, her name is Lucy in this movie, and she plays an environmentalist lawyer.
Like a humanitarian.
Very humanitarian vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And
as someone in this generation would call a social justice warrior.
SJ-dub. Yeah, for sure. She's serving that, but like she actually does things.
Yeah, exactly.
She's on the front lines. Mm-hmm. She's the movie starts out with her literally wrapped around a wrecking ball.
Oh my God.
Miley Cyrus style. Yeah. Before Miley did it. Honey.
Yeah.
And she's like protesting. They're taking down some building. And she's like fighting for.
Screaming.
She's like, you can't, but the law says, the law says. She's like saying that over and over again.
It's like a theater that's like a land. She wants it to have landmark status, but there's companies tearing down New York every single day.
Yes. So she gets arrested, and her parents come to pick her up, and you learn quickly that her parents are like they were also like social justice lawyers.
Yeah.
And she, at one point she says like
her dad worked with Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, and her mom was front lines of like the civil rights movement too.
Yeah.
Like basically her parents were what did you say when
I don't know.
Oh, because you were like imagine your parents like were pushing you to be a better people.
Imagine the main conflict you have with your parents is that they want you to be a good person.
Yeah. Like,
imagine.
They want you to fight for the rights of human beings.
Because she's like, it's just never good enough. And I'm like, she just wants you to care.
Yeah.
Your mom just wants you to care, babe.
Like, imagine, like, your parents having, like, the same political views as you. That alone.
That is rare. That's rare, Sandy.
Yeah. That's like, what? But anyway, so yeah, you kind of quickly see that Lucy is like doing everything she can to make a difference and feeling like nothing she does is enough, which is a very real feeling when you don't have any money.
Yeah.
And specifically, this corporation that was taking down this building is like the Wade Corporation, which is comparable to like Trump.
Oh, trigger warning. Trump is in this movie for 20 seconds.
TW.
I just want to let you know because
it was shocking for us.
When I heard his voice, I was like, no, God.
You recoiled.
Like, I literally.
You physically recoiled.
I can't, like, just a trigger warning.
Well, also just like, I mean, we're not going to get into politics, but I just want to say, like, it's so bizarre when you see, like, all his cameos in the early 2000s, like, that he was our president.
He was someone's president. He wasn't mine.
Not mine, bitch.
Not mine.
But yeah, so anyways, the Wade Corporation is very much like that status. Like they have a lot of money. They have a lot of pull in real estate in New York, and I'm sure in other places. And so Lucy obviously naturally hates the Wade Corporation.
Yeah.
And she's decided to go confront Wade himself because she really doesn't want her community center to be taken down. She grew up in Coney Island in Brooklyn, and she does not want this community center.
Yeah, because it's going to tear down, like, something that was a staple in her childhood, but also in, like, the community as well.
Yeah. Like, you know.
All in the effort of building more condos to ruin the skyline.
Which is a very real issue that is also still currently happening in major cities and
it's
all over
happening
the
across
world.
the street from me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got people knocking on doors because they're building the tallest building until Pasadena right across from me. It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. But she goes to Wade, and when you first see George Wade, he's like at this party, and it's Hugh Grant, so you know he's just being ridiculously charming.
It's like gross.
It's gross.
How charming he is.
It's a gift.
Ugh.
I wonder if he's like that in real life often. Like,
God, I hope. If he is, I don't want to meet him.
Does he play much of a character, or?
Yeah, there are actors who people are just, like, drawn to, so they don't have to play a character.
Because, like, Love Actually, he's, like, a similar type. You know, he was...
All of his characters are very similar.
I have no problem with typecasting. FYI, if you're good at something and people like it,
music and lyrics,
why not do it?
Yeah.
Like, people always are so judgmental about that.
No.
It's like, I don't need... Why does every actor have to be Meryl Streep? Like,
yeah, just like Sandra Bullock is really good at playing, like... You know, like when she has these moments where, like, she's very obviously lying, but, like, is good at acting like she's lying. Like, that's a really common thing she does in every single movie.
It's totally annoying to me how, like, until Sandra Bullock did The Blind Side, she was, like, not respected as an artist. When, like...
She's so good. She made me cry.
Movies are for entertainment.
Like
I'm going on a rant, but, like, I'm so... I saw a TikTok, and it really, like, fueled my rage about this, but, like... Why do we assume that, like, only dramatic or sad acting or sad movies are worth critical acclaim?
And then, like, the subgenres, like romantic movies or horror movies, like, they all get completely pushed aside. Like, I just watched this horror movie, Train to Busan, the other day. Some of the best acting I've ever seen, but A, it's horror, B, it's foreign.
Yeah.
So it's like, doesn't get the recognition it's deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super, I mean, I understand that things are niche. Like, I don't watch horror movies because I don't like to be afraid.
Yeah.
And so you do take out a lot of people with that.
Yeah.
But, and, like, same with romantic comedies. I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't interested.
Because
but to discredit literally. But to discredit, like, the importance of these type of films is so silly to me.
It's garbage.
I really could go off. I mean, I am going off.
That's why we have a podcast about romantic comedies, to go off.
Well, anyways, so we love how charming George Wade is.
Oh yeah,
AKA
that's where we came from.
Hugh Grant in this movie. So when Lucy walks up to him, he's like interviewing. Oh, also side note, he has to get a new lawyer because he keeps hiring
women he has sex with.
Yeah, he's just hiring, like, quote unquote lawyers who went to, like, online college.
Yeah.
So he can just sleep with them. And so his brother, who is the actual CEO of the company, whereas George is the face of the company because he's Gorge, he basically is like, you have to get, like, a real lawyer.
Yeah.
Because this is not going well.
Yeah.
So he had just got done with an interview of, like, a girl named Tiffany.
Which, like... Why do we assign meaning to names?
I know, right?
It's not like the child chose to be named that.
Right. And then Sandra Bullock, a.k.a. Lucy, comes up to him and is like, listen, Mr. Wade, like, this community center, she's kind of, like, talking at him, and he's just like, yeah, who are you? Like, whatever. Yeah. And he was like, oh, you're the one who, like, tears down all of our... Or, like, tries to tear down, like, our...
Tries to stop our...
Yes. Tries to stop us from tearing down...
Tries to tear down our tear downs.
Tear down.
I wish you could see Katie's face. She just, like, had an existential moment out of body.
Wow. Okay.
Tries to tear down our tear downs.
Okay. So, George was like, oh, you're the woman who always tries to stop us from tearing down buildings.
There it is.
And she's like, yeah. Anyways. And she's like, keeps talking to him. And he's, like, doing an interview at the same time, and she's like giving him the words to use for the interview because she's just like, this community center promotes unity within our community, and he's like, unity within all community, like,
and is like stealing her words,
stealing everything that she's saying for the interview, and then he basically tells her to get in the car.
Yeah.
And he's like, where did you
welcome to men, just like taking women's ideas and being like, that was me, I said it. Right. Sorry.
So he gets in the car, or she gets in the car with him, and he's like, where did you go to college? And she's like, Harvard. And he's like, oh, good, I need someone who's gone to Harvard. And then she's like, what are you talking about? And they basically make a deal in the car that not only will, if she works for him, not only will he not tear down the community center, but she has complete control over all of the money that they give to charity in the corporation. And so Lucy... Oh,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So Lucy has kind of like a crisis. And he also is like, and not that you care about money, but I'll start you off at $250,000.
Which is insane.
And she's like...
Uh-oh.
So she goes and talks to her parents about it.
Oh my God, yeah.
And she's like, I mean, I would have so much more power with resources, like with all of that money. And like, if I really could control where the money was going, like that is honestly
that's what's
amazing.
Important to her. Yeah. Cause she wants to if you want to create structural change, you have to get into the structure. You can't create structural change from the outside, unfortunately. So unfortunately you have to work with your enemies. And in this case, the enemies are the people who are building all these towers and like making all this money. And if you want them to do something good with their money, get in there and help them do something good with their money. And she obviously can and has that influence.
Right. And like the crisis that she's having is like, do I want to be known as somebody who works for this company?
Yeah.
Because that's a scary thing when you're fighting them for so long.
It seems like you're selling out your morals.
And her mom is immediately like, this is a bad idea.
I love her mom so much.
And her dad is like, you know what they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So her dad is really supportive. Her mom is definitely like, I don't think it's a good idea. So Lucy takes the job. And kind of time hops a little bit because you are immediately aware that like George, the first thing that happens is he's like, which envelope should I use? And like, she's like, I don't know, they look exactly the same. And he's like, well, this one is made from this paper and this one is made from this paper. And she's like, aside from the fact that they're both non-recyclable papers
and like destroyed forests to make,
she like licks the envelopes and then she goes, this one because it tastes better. And he's like, by God, like no one's...
I asked 30 people today.
And no one's given that answer. I'm getting you a bigger office.
What I love about this movie is it, like, I was saying this while we were watching it, it does a good job of just getting you into the meat of the movie without taking too much time. Like, it shows you who Lucy is, it shows you who George is, and then they meet.
Yep.
And then she works for him. So you get the ball gets rolling really quickly.
So quick.
And I love that, because I hate when we spend all this time, like, dawdling with, like, voiceovers, which we don't have in this movie.
Nope.
Not a single voiceover.
Not one.
With, like, voiceovers that are trying to cut time, but then you still end up wasting time with, like, little scenes here and there.
I agree. Yeah. They get to the meat of it really quick, like you said. And so you see right away that, like, he becomes almost, like, reliant on her for everything because...
Yeah. He's a man-child.
Yeah. And she's... very efficient.
Yeah.
And so, like, all of a sudden, it's, like, 2 a.m. and she gets a phone call, and he's, like, asking her all these questions and stuff, and he's like, I'm talking to this girl, and she's like, oh, my God, like, I can't deal with this. And you can tell it's becoming, like, she's realizing she's not doing her job.
Yeah.
She's basically just...
His assistant.
And, like, not like, just his babysitter.
Yeah.
Like, and so they do... they have to do his divorce, and he kind of like steps over her and just gives the ex everything she wants.
Yeah.
And she's just feeling like she's not able to really do her job. She's a lawyer. That's what she's good at. That's what she's known for. And she's feeling like crazy.
Yeah.
And so, but you also see these moments of them that are like
really cute.
Really cute. Like he's picking on a mattress and they're like, he's like bouncing on the mattress.
Like he's so endearing, but he's just also so clueless to everything around him and how he's also being used.
Yes.
The way he's using Lucy.
Yes.
Like he's being used by his brother just to be the face without actually knowing the impact of what his brother's company is doing to the environment.
And even if he does know, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care, and he can't change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this feeling of, like, that's just the way the world is.
Yeah.
Which is super easy for someone with money and privilege to say. And there's also that, like, disconnection that happens when you have always had wealth, where it's like you just don't really know what's going on. But
you could hear my eye roll over that microphone.
Yeah, right. I will say this. Throughout the movie, there are all these little moments where he gives money very freely to people. Like,
the hot dog
guy. When they're in the boat, he, like, slips cash into, like, the guy who's playing music.
Even
like,
with his ex-wife.
Yeah.
He gives her $100,000 more than she was asking
Which
for.
I think is such an important thing because, like, yes, we know that he's, like, funny and seems oblivious.
Yeah.
But that's, like, almost what Lucy sees in him, too, is that, like, there's
that good in there.
There is. It's in there.
Which is very rare for people who have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was telling Katie, once I find out you have a lot of money, I don't care anymore when you're complaining to me. It's not true. Obviously, everyone has their problems. But, yeah, it is really nice to see that they give him that, like, human side, that he's not just, like, this overly wealthy person that doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, it's nice, I mean, to believe that there are people like that also, you know? Because sometimes it really feels like there's not.
Yeah.
So then, basically, she is in her best friend's wedding, literally during the ceremony, which, first of all, girl, turn your cell phone off.
Like...
So the phone rings, and it's a text, an old school text, a 2002 text.
It's a Nokia, baby.
Yeah, that says emergency, like... SOS, like, come right now.
Yeah.
And so she goes, runs out of the wedding, her best friend's wedding.
Who is played by Gracie Jo Hart from Miss Congeniality. Heather Burns, obsessed with her.
Well, she's not
Gracie
yeah.
Jo is Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
Miss Rhode Island.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, love her.
So cute. Yeah, so she goes to his house, to his hotel, and his hotel house, and he's in the closet, pants, just in his boxers, and he's like, I have to judge Miss America thing, like, what do I wear? And she's like,
are you kidding?
George, are you serious? Like,
He looks at her and goes, you look nice. What should I wear?
And she's just like, I was in a wedding. He was like, why would you come here? You're in a wedding? And she's like, George, you said it was an emergency. What are the 3 things that I said, like, that she said that I memoed you that dictate an emergency? And he's like, bleeding, death, or whatever. And she's like, then you are none of those things.
He's like, I'll be dead eventually.
Yeah. Such a shit. So at that point, she says, like, I can't do this anymore, and I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. Consider this my 2 weeks notice.
She said the name of the movie.
Love that. So, he's upset, obviously, and because they have gotten so close, because it's been, I think it was like almost a year.
Yeah.
Like, it was close to a year that she's been literally his
dog.
Yeah. And so the next day she, like, starts looking for new jobs, or maybe not the next day, but, like, she starts looking for new jobs, and everywhere she goes, she's basically blacklisted because he called everywhere that she would possibly apply and said not to hire her because she's indispensable to the company.
Rude.
And so she's pissed.
Yeah.
And so she decides that she's gonna try to get herself.
She talks to her parents, and they look over the
her contract that she wrote
for herself, and he's like, "This is good work on that." Her dad.
He's like, "This is ironclad."
And he's
Houdini couldn't get out of
"You
this.
could only get out of this if you get fired." So then, light bulb. She's like, "I'm gonna get myself fired, baby."
So they're meeting with his brother, who is the CEO. She's late. She looks crazy. She's chewing gum. She's just doing her best to be super unprofessional. And they, like, sit. It's so funny, like, the way the whole scene plays out. Like, there's a picture of, like, his brother's kids.
Oh my god.
And she's like, "Oh, your daughters are so cute.
Yeah.
Or your sons are so cute." And he's like,
"That's a girl.
Those are girls." Yeah. And just she spits gum out and it like gets stuck to his shoe.
Yeah.
Like she's just doing the most.
Yeah.
And Hugh like pulls her into the bathroom and he's like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah. I'll know what you're doing. That's
I know what you're doing. And she basically breaks down and is like, I have an ulcer. I don't know when I shampoo my hair anymore.
I'm running out of shampoo because I shampoo my hair twice.
Because I'm thinking about you, not in like a good way or a sexy way, but in a like crazy way.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I can't make any decisions now without you. This isn't, I used to be able to do things and now
I'm completely inept.
I can't do anything without knowing what you think. And she basically just breaks down and is like, I can't do this. Like, I really can't.
Like you have to let me go.
Yeah, you have to let me go.
And they agree that he'll let her go, but she just has to find a replacement and train the replacement.
And there's this really cute moment where he's like, they hug. She's like, thank you, George. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you can tell he just, like, loves her.
Like, you can tell for a second, like, they're both thinking, like, uh-oh, this hug feels good.
Yeah.
I would like more of this hug, please.
Yes.
Sign me up for an extra helping of hug.
Yes, exactly. So then you're officially in, like, the 2 weeks.
Yeah. We're in it, babes.
We're in the 2 weeks.
We're noticing the 2 weeks.
And she... 2 weeks.
Noticed. Sorry, I got a good chuckle out of that.
I love it. So now she's like looking for new people. Oh, actually first before that, she's like stapling her files, and like she at the time, you don't really hear much about him, but she has a boyfriend who's like in the Peace Corps who's never around.
Yeah.
They just like talk on the phone once a week or something. Anyway, they got into a fight and basically broke up.
Yeah.
And George is like, well, let's do something. Like, he cancels his whole day.
Yeah.
And then
they go hang out on a boat.
Yeah, he takes her onto his yacht.
Yeah.
And she gets schwasty.
Very schwasted.
So drunky.
Yeah.
And they're having this conversation and, like, being really flirty and playful. And then she says, like, or she's like, I don't get it. Like, why? What's wrong with me? Like, why can't I keep a guy? And he's like, I don't know what it is. She's
like, am I not good in bed? And he goes, maybe you're not. And she's like, no, I'm really good in bed.
Yeah.
You can tell for a second. She was like, I'm not going to let you tell me I'm not good in bed. And then she starts describing how she's good in bed.
Yeah, she's like, I'm like a bobcat. I'm like a bobcat pretzel. And then, and then they kiss.
Yeah, and then she passes out immediately after.
Which always happens in movies, as you described.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand, like, I know there are people who are sensitive to alcohol, but, like, I've never seen someone just, like, pass out from drinking.
Yeah.
Like, blackout, yes, but you're not you're still not cognizant, but, like, you're still conscious.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
No, but, like, in every movie, it's always like, I'm so drunk, fainting, like, damsel in distress moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, the way people hang up in movies.
Oh, it makes me so angry.
They're just like this. Yeah, I guess that she's going to the mall, so we should go there too.
Hang up. What? No goodbye. No see you there. No structure
what
to
about
the phone
time?
call.
Are we meeting now?
Are you picking me up? Am I picking you up? Like, it stresses me out every time. I can't. It makes me so. My Virgo sensibilities are like, this is not a plan.
It's like one of those weird things that we all just like choose to ignore, similar to driving in movies, which is also insane.
Like, they would be all over the road because their hands are just going left, right, left, right, left, right.
Insane.
Like, it's crazy.
Anyways, we digress.
Little rant.
So what happens now?
The next morning. So, he takes her back to his suite.
Oh, yeah.
And sets her down and is like, she looks really peaceful when she sleeps. Like, you can tell he's getting these feelings. And then the next morning he sees her and she's very hungover, but they have to interview people for her position. And she just says, like, listen, anything I said or didn't say or do or didn't do, like, just forget it. I was really drunk. And you can tell, like, he kind of gets the wind out of his sails a little bit because they did kiss.
Yeah, and she's also kind of asking, like, and he's like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Which I also really like because he didn't tell her that they kissed, even though he could have.
Because, you know, she, like, because of how, like, how she is as a person, she would have been so embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, would have walked off and never talked to him
She would have been so embarrassed, and
Yeah.
the fact that he, like, wanted to spare that.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
You're seeing how he loves her, yeah.
I hate it. Sorry,
I
this
hate
movie
it
is
too.
starting to affect me.
I know, mentally disturbing.
Mentally and physically and spiritually.
Like, I said I didn't like horror movies.
This is horrific.
Yeah, is that true? I think I do like horror films, and I think they're called romantic comedies. And I think they terrorize me.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. God damn it. So
they're interviewing people. What happens next?
there's like a little montage of them interviewing
Yeah.
people, and then this girl comes in, and she doesn't actually have an
yeah.
interview, and Lucy didn't want to interview her because she didn't have a background in property law. But she comes in and she's like, hi, like, I'm just such a fan of you.
She doesn't talk like that.
Yeah, she does. How does she talk?
She just says, I just want to say how big of a fan I am of you.
But
We don't hate her
has
yet.
no, I know. No,
Yeah.
I wasn't. I just feel like she has like a really specific,
Yeah.
what's the word?
Speech pattern.
Sure, that's not the word, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Cadence. She has a very specific cadence.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like she's like.
She is very like, yeah, I see it now.
Yeah.
I see it now.
Anyways.
You're right.
Anyways,
My bad.
she comes in and she's just basically like, kind of buttering Lucy up. Like, I think you're
Yeah.
amazing at Harvard. We respect you so much. And
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't have a background in property law, but you didn't either when you started. And
I read this quote from Mr. Wade that, like, made me feel like I would be working for someone who has really good intentions. And, like, she reads the quote that he obviously stole from Lucy.
yeah.
And Lucy's like, yeah, he's a good one.
And as soon as she's reading it, George comes into the
Mm-hmm.
room. And she's like, oh, Mr. Wade, like, hi. And just kind of, you can tell immediately she's like,
Oh, hard
batting
eyes.
her
Yeah.
eyelashes. And, you know, he
immediately starts thinking with his penis.
Well, he also says, like, actually, Lucy wrote that.
Yeah, he does give her credit.
Yeah, he gives her credit for that. But anyway, so there's a Mets game. And this was, like, such an indicator to me. Like, she's like, Lucy's like, oh, George, are we still going to the game? And he's like, yeah. And then June is like, I love baseball.
I'm more of a Red Sox fan.
like,
and you can tell Lucy's starting to feel the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as she's there, she's like, George, like, playing with her hair, like,
I
trying to get his
know.
attention. It's very obvious that she's, like, starting to feel his attention, like, his wandering eye. And she's like, pay attention to me.
And it's funny because she's still in denial consciously that she wants George, but subconsciously that little hair moment, I was like, okay, Lucy.
Because it was obvious. If he were looking at all, he would have seen it. But
so they go to the game together, and like he's like, June seems really great, and she's like, yeah,
she's fine.
And then she comes in for the actual interview. Or no, he interviews her. I forgot.
Yeah.
He like finishes the interview and decides to hire her. So then there's like this company picnic tennis thing that they're going to. So they go, and it's like George and June against Lucy and
another coworker.
Yeah, a coworker. And basically like Lucy and June start like whacking the ball. Whacking the ball back and forth like crazy.
Yeah.
And then June actually hits
Lucy right in the forehead.
Yeah.
And George, she goes, quick, ask me who all the Supreme Justices are. And George goes, who are all the Supreme Justices? And she says them. And she's like, is it right? He went, why would I know that? I thought that was funny.
So cute.
So yeah, after that, I think June is like, or Lucy's really starting to see like George and June are like getting closer.
Yeah, there's like, she's like touching his visor and stuff, and like Lucy just is eating all this food, because in the beginning of the movie you find out that she like stress eats.
Yeah, like she's always ordering from this Chinese food place for one.
And like a ton of food for one. Like 6 different.
Yeah.
Like a number 6, a number 8, a number 10, a number 11, whatever. Anyway, so she's eating this little girl's cookies, and like she's just eating a lot, and
this next scene.
So then George is taking her home later, and they're in the car.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh.
Listen, I just want to say, as somebody with IBS, you know what this scene is. You're like, you feel the gurgling in your belly, and you're like, oh no. And, like, it's rough.
Yeah, I've had things like that happen, but maybe not, like, thank God not to that extent.
It's imminent for me. I'm like, where is it?
I feel like I know when you're like, okay, I need to go. Yeah. And I'm like, where are you going? Like, because
I have to go.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta go. I just
have to leave. It's a problem. I'm fine.
I love it. But yeah, so she's like, and he's like, what did you eat? And she's like, just like a chili dog and some fries and this bag of cookies from this little girl, and then another chili dog somewhere in there,
and a Diet Coke.
Yeah, and you can like hear her stomach at that point, and she's like, oh, and he's just like, well, just do it in the car, it's fine. And she's like, I'm not gonna do it in my Volvo. You're
only gonna remember me as the girl who went to the bathroom in my Volvo. And he went, that would be hard to forget.
So then all of a sudden they're in literal standstill traffic. It's raining, like this is a nightmare, and she's like, she's gonna go. Yeah. There's basically, that's it.
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks out the rear view and he's like, there's an RV back there. We're gonna go. And she's like, no, George, no, please don't. And he literally like pulls her out of the car, and they're like running, and then she falls and gets dirt all over her white skirt, and then he just carries her to the RV sweet. Over his shoulder, and then he like bangs on the door, and this like woman answers. She's like, hello. Yeah, literally that. He's like, we really need to use your bathroom. We're not insane. Yeah. Like, I'll give you $100.
She goes, 1,000. Because I would immediately be like, no, give her more.
Right?
Yeah.
So then they're in the RV, and she's like blowing up the bathroom, honey.
The children are scared.
Yeah, the children. The mom's like, come here, babies.
Come here, don't listen, babies.
Because she's like, oh, like in the bathroom.
Yeah. And then traffic starts to move again, so Lucy's car gets left on the freeway.
Sucks.
And Lucy and George get dropped off at like a supermarket parking lot. So George decides to call for a ride, which just so happens to be a fucking helicopter. Ugh. And they go on this, like, really romantic, beautiful helicopter ride over New York. And, like, Lucy says this thing to him.
I love this moment.
Yeah. She's talking to George about, like, how much money he has and, like, how he can make a difference and, like, how a lot of people choose not to. And she says, all you have to do is use your power for good. Like, because she knows he has that kind of power. And she sees that good in him. It's just such a really sweet, beautiful moment.
She said to him, like, you could do that, George, if you really wanted to.
Yeah, because he's telling her, like, what he's passionate about architecture and stuff like that. So he was, like, telling her about, like, these people who were building these buildings. And she was like, you could do that. All you have to do is use your power for good. Yeah. And it's just a really sweet scene.
It is. It's the thing that's so beautiful about love or loving someone else is that, like, you know, like, the like, if you don't love yourself,
how the hell are you gonna love anybody else?
I totally believe that, but I also think that sometimes it takes another person seeing something in you for you to love that about yourself. Yeah. And I feel like that's a perfect example where it's like George sees her like playful, like warm, like nurturing side, and she sees his like genuine, like
good side,
kind, good side. And I like that it's like it takes Lucy saying those things to him and like looking at him in that way and saying like, you could do that.
I mean, listen, I've loved a lot of people while I thoroughly hated myself, so George can do it too.
Right? Yeah. So after that, basically the 2 weeks is almost over. Yeah. And they have like this event.
This like gala to like raise money for some charity.
Yeah, it's kind of the last hurrah for her in the company. And so they're supposed to go together, and then he invites June to go to the gala, and this is when you're like, Lucy girl.
Yeah, she has a moment because she gets upset about it, but I had to be like, Lucy, he doesn't know though. Like, you can't really get upset at him for inviting someone when you don't communicate your feelings. And that's the crux of all rom-coms, people not communicating their feelings. Like,
and that's definitely her hardest, the hardest thing for her to do.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah. She does not like that. Yeah. So, basically before the gala, George is at his brother's. And his brother tells him, oh, yeah, we have to tear down the community center.
Ugh.
And George is like, no, we can't. I promised Lucy we wouldn't tear that community center down.
Yeah.
George is like, we need this. And kind of, like you said, fear tactics when we were watching it.
100%
He's literally like, we could lose everything if we don't make this deal. This is a huge...
Which is not true.
Also, yeah, like...
You have so many buildings.
And I have, like, a really major question, like, other than, like, Schitt's Creek, like, what... Do you ever really lose, quote,
everything.
Everything when you have that much wealth?
No, because a lot of your assets aren't liquidated, so you have the wealth within your assets that you could sell.
Yeah, you probably won't make more. And you could
easily live off of. You won't make more, but you could easily live off it and invest it and not be hoarding your wealth. It's fine.
But yeah, so
I'm fine.
No, at one point in the movie, oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
that's important. Well, a little bit before this, George finds out that Lucy's parents are like at like nearby.
Yeah.
Where they were doing like a
press conference.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I want to meet your parents. And like, you know, the dad is really friendly and nice. The mom is just glaring.
Oh my God.
And he goes, well, I can see where Lucy gets her stare from. It's so good. Yeah. But she says to him, I don't know how, like. He says, oh, this new building is going to make $10 million in profit. $50 million in profit. And she's like, $50 million?
I don't think any one person should have that much money.
How can you sleep at night? Yeah. And then he says, I actually have a sound machine that produces the sound of whales to help me sleep. Asshole. But I know that's how you feel.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I was like, somehow I'm both Lucy's mom and George, because I do have a sound machine that produces whale noises, but also I don't know how people like that sleep at night. You should not have $50 million from one building. It's fine.
Yep.
It's okay.
It's crazy.
So they're at this event to raise money for this charity. And Lucy shows up. She's stunning. She's in this incredible dress.
Norah Jones there playing
Norah
music.
Jones is playing Come Away With Me.
To the beach.
To the beach.
Caitlin, if you're listening.
And so, yeah, George talks to Lucy, and he's like, oh, my God, you look stunning. Like, this dress is amazing. Like, he doesn't say that specifically, but you can tell that's what he's thinking. So Lucy and George are having this really, like, vulnerable moment where you can tell they're starting to really connect on, like, that romantic level. Just so much eye contact.
Eye contact, the house, yeah.
But then June comes up and ruins everything.
Yeah, like...
She ruins it the house down boots.
Like, what am I saying?
She says, claw.
I was going to say cock block, but then I said claw.
Clock blocked.
Blocked.
She says to Lucy, like, hey, could you help me rewrite George's speech now that we are tearing down the community center? And this is the first Lucy's hearing of it. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me?
So she's like, George, I need to talk to you alone.
Yeah. And basically reams him out.
And she says to him, like, I can't believe you would let this happen. Like, this is the one thing.
You gave me your word.
And he's like, that's life. This is what happens. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I just spent hours trying to fight my brother on this. And she's like, not enough. Like, yeah. And she basically says to him, like, you don't have to be this person. He's like, oh, this is who I am. Like,
yeah, you can tell he's reverting back.
Yeah, immediately he's just like, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
So she's really upset and leaves. And then you're seeing June and George go up to the hotel room, which is, and he talked to Trump like minutes before that. But yeah, so it's very much you're seeing him be like, well, I guess I'm just a piece of shit and this is just who I am. So June and him go up to the apartment, to his hotel apartment, and she's like, oh, you have chess. And then she's like, you know what? Yeah, she's like, you know what I like even more than chess? Strip chess.
You know what I like even more than strip chess? You leaving my apartment. Goodbye. Have a good night. So long, June.
So, Lucy's upset and wants to talk to George. Yeah. So, of course,
Lucy
she heads over. Heads on over to the hotel.
The house.
The house. And, of course, June is just in a sexy slip with like a cute bra. And she's like, oh, Lucy, like,
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you'd be her.
and then Lucy's like, oh, it's fine. Like, I don't care.
And George comes out. And, like, she's, like, putting the pieces together as to what is obviously either going to happen or had already happened. And she's like, it's okay. I've got Barry at home waiting for me.
Yeah,
it's okay. I was going to have lots of sex tonight.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
It's a sad moment.
So Lucy leaves and goes to her friend's house.
Her best friend's.
Miss Rhode Island.
And she's the one who got married.
Yeah.
And, like, so throughout the movie, there's just this funny, like, now that she's married, it's kind of, like, making her
You can see
crazy.
her, like, starting to be like, I hate being married.
And there's this moment where she's like, Lucy is like, I just don't know what to do, because she finally kind of admits that she has feelings. And she's crying, and her friend's like, I've only seen you cry once ever. And it was when Bush won. And she was like, which one? And she was like, both. Okay, so I've seen you cry twice.
Mood.
She's like, I've known you since you were in Brownies. Like, you obviously have feelings for him.
Yeah.
And she says this quote, which I really liked, which was like, I'm going to butcher it now, but basically, like, sometimes, like, someone who's different than you is exactly what you need to see yourself.
Oh, yeah, she quotes Yoganandi, I think. Yeah.
And she's just sitting there, and then her husband, this part's iconic to me. Her husband so sweetly comes to the window, and he's like, is everything okay down there? And she glares at him and goes, not everything's about you.
It was...
And right before that, she had said, like, it was hard for me before we got together, and now I'm so happy and in love.
And he goes, everything all right? Not everything's about you. I died.
Iconic. So, basically, after that, Lucy just gets her job at Legal Aid, and she's working.
Living with her
back
parents
at her parents'
again.
house, because she can't afford her fancy apartment anymore.
Yeah.
And ordering Chinese food, a bunch of Chinese food for one. And then she's at work, and it's the day that they're going to tear down the community center.
And you see George getting ready to give his speech.
Yes.
And June just being oblivious and being like, oh, we forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah, her last day. Oh, so sorry.
Yeah.
So the night after the gala is her last day of work. So she goes in, and, like, they're doing a little, like, goodbye party. Yeah. And then, basically, she has, like, her box of stuff, and June comes over to, like, weirdly
say
kind
goodbye.
And say, like, sorry about last night.
Which, like,
and then at a certain point, Lucy says, like, I mean, I worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week here, so, and she was like, I guess that makes you a workaholic. And
she went, no, that's just your hours when you work with George.
And then she's like, oh, I'm not saying I can't do that. I just make sure to really separate, like, business from professional, or, like, professional from personal. And Lucy goes, oh, yeah, it seemed like that when you were in your little slap last night. I said, okay, Lucy.
And
she
that's
really
when
talked.
June and her get into, like, a physical altercation. Cause
over the stapler.
June is trying to take a stapler that's supposedly company property, and Lucy's just so stubborn. She's not letting it go.
Yes. So then George pulls her into this little kitchen, and they're, like, alone. And that's when the really good argument happens that I was talking about before.
It's, like, cathartic.
It's so good because, and he says, like, Lucy, like, I'm sorry, okay? But, like, I'm human, and everyone's not perfect, and that's what's wrong with you is you think you're perfect. Like, everything's perfect, and it's boring, and, like, it's mean what he says, but at the same time, Lucy realizes there's some truth in what he's saying. Basically, it ends with them not on good terms. She says some things to him, too, like, just that she's
disappointed.
So hurt and disappointed, and, like, it was the one reason that she took the job. And, so after that, you see
she
her.
She goes to her legal aid job.
Ordering the Chinese, all that. And George is about to deliver the speech. You don't hear the speech. And then, as she's at work, he comes to the legal aid.
Oh, to the legal aid office.
And he's like,
ugh.
Will you read the speech? He tries to get her to read it, which I think is so funny. And she is like, George, I'm busy. And kind of is ignoring him. So he's like, okay, I'll read it to you. And he reads it, and it's basically like first it's talking about the community center and like why it's important and all this stuff. And then he basically says like, I made a promise to somebody and like this person, I care about keeping that promise. And so I'm not going to tear down the community center because I care about her and she cares about this community. And
it's like
it's
really
important
sweet.
for people to be able to have water ballet and like
CPR
class.
Preferably not at
together.
the same time, yeah.
And it's so sweet. And like the way it ends is just basically him saying like that.
She's become the voice in my head.
Oh my God.
And I wanted to get it out,
I can't drown her
out. And I don't want to anymore.
I don't want to anymore.
Ah!
And then she's like, and then he's like, what do you think? And she says, I need to get back to work. And so he's like, okay, bye, and like leaves. And then there was like these two women who were there watching the whole thing, and they were like,
everyone was crying, all three of them.
And then Lucy starts crying. She's like, that was like outside of, what did she say? Like outside of like a
double negative or something.
Something in the middle there. That speech was perfect, wasn't it? And they were like, go get him.
She's like, the one girl was like, I don't even like him, and I don't know why you're still here.
Yeah. So she runs.
It's very reminiscent of Dirty Dancing. Johnny! And then she's like on the street and just goes, George! And runs after him.
And then like, and before they kiss, he's there. They hug at first, which I actually really like.
Yeah.
And then he says like, just so you know, now I'm poor.
And I didn't have sex with June.
But he was like, I'm poor and, so now we'll only be able to like share a helicopter with a family. Like he's obviously not.
Yeah, he's still got money.
But he did quit.
Yeah.
And she was like, good, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm in love with you. And she's like, I'm in love with you too. And then they just kiss.
And he puts his hand on her face.
Oh, his hand. He has a great hand.
And I'm like, yeah, you're going to clog my pores, but also like grab my face.
And the music is like, let's stay together because I'm still in love with you. Ooh.
And no one's in love with me.
Hey.
And no one's in love with me. Hey. I gotta love myself.
Hey. But yeah, so then it shows, you think that's the end, and then it shows he's in her parents' apartment, and like you can hear him in the background being like, this place is so small. And
I can get across the apartment in 6 seconds.
Watch. And then she's ordering Chinese, which was like a theme throughout, and then he's like, the guy is obviously like on the phone is like, is this for one? And she's like, no, it's actually for two.
And that's how it ends. And it's so cute.
Can we clap?
A round of applause. We stand.
If you're out there and you're gonna make a romantic comedy, please use this as a rubric.
Yeah.
Like
this or Jane Austen. We want women who are written for the female gaze,
yes,
not for the male gaze.
We want female gaze.
Or men, sorry. I mean, I do want women too.
We want the female gaze, baby.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about how Hugh Grant is like a perfect example of the female gaze because I remember like growing up, my dad was always like, I don't understand what you guys like about him. He's like an idiot. And
we
like
want someone who's goofy, fun, confident. We don't
charming.
need pecs or like
we don't need
like it's just annoying.
And
like,
honestly, to each their own. But like the reality is like they've done studies to show like what the female gaze is like, and because so often films are written from the male perspective, we miss out on that experience, and it really matters.
About how many of the men in rom-coms do have that female gaze, like. You've got Jason Segel, Paul Rudd, Hugh Grant. Like, we love a dad bod, if we're being perfectly honest. And we
don't care about that.
Exactly. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
It's all in the content of your character.
And it's like, it's just, it's such a fascinating subject to me. And I love this movie. Please, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's so good.
And if you haven't seen it in so long, rewatch it, because... Again, I barely remembered the movie, but like, it killed me. I had to throw my pen in my notebook afterwards.
No, it's really good.
Yeah.
So, Danielle.
No.
How did this movie fuck you up?
I guess it would have to be like, God. just two people being in love, I guess. No, seeing like someone who has such completely different ideals and differences from someone else and still find common ground and still realize there's like that overarching like spark, like you can't really deny that, but you can have meet each other halfway. Does that make any sense? Like, even though like she could have easily just written him off because he's a millionaire, like, and he obviously doesn't care because he's got all this wealth, she still got to know him and make change from within, and I thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah, I think the fact that they both change, they change each other for the better. They make each other better people.
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? Sorry, Wicked.
Oh, yeah, I was like, I did not know what you're singing.
Catherine?
That rarely happens, so I was like, what is this pop culture reference? I don't know. I was like pissed.
Katie,
anyway, yes.
How did this movie fuck you up?
I have to say, like, I know I say this a lot, like, I'm pretty sure I said this in, like, 10 Things I Hate About You and, like, Dirty Dancing, whatever. But, like, this was such a formative movie for me. Like, I watched it so much with my mom. It was, like, a Sunday afternoon movie for us. And
I love those movies. Yeah. Sorry.
No, me too. And I just think, like... Of all the messages that you could get from romantic comedies, a lot of which are not great.
Yeah,
they
definitely.
set you up for, failure and disappointment. I think what I liked so much about this movie, although it does have unrealistic,
you're gonna marry a millionaire.
Yeah, you're gonna find a millionaire who also has a heart and is like hot as fuck and goofy. But I think I always really liked the feeling that it was like, they, like, kind of what you said, like, them bringing out the best in each other. And also just, like, I liked seeing a powerful woman. Yeah. Who kind of...
Sandra Bullock is so good at those characters.
I always really liked her character because I felt like she was just, like...
She stood up for what she thought was right.
Yeah, an ideal way to live your life. I mean, definitely workaholic and stuff, but, like, just that passion she had for what she cared about. And, like... a fully fledged, interesting female character. And yeah, I just love Hugh Grant, so that fucked me up too. True. He really fucked me up.
His little blue eyes.
He did a number on me.
Yeah.
He really did growing up. He
what
really
number?
did. 7.
Cool.
He did a number 7 on me.
I don't know.
What is that?
What is... I don't think I'm mature enough to know what that is yet. So did they or didn't they?
Baby, they did.
They did. They did.
They did.
They did.
They did. They did.
They did.
Are we doing ASMR?
Again.
Hugh Grant, if you're listening.
Hi.
We love you.
Can you whisper in my ear with your British accent?
I was going to say that.
Oh my God, we're on the same page. This is probably so annoying.
We're good at ASMR.
We're really going to stop doing this in every episode, I promise.
Yeah. We're going to stop.
That's so jarring.
We're going to stop.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
This is such a fun movie.
Yeah.
I recommend everybody go watch it. Go watch it now. What are you doing? Are you driving? Put it on your phone. Get on your phone while you're driving. That's
Please.
safe. Are you
download
taking care of your baby? Your baby will love Hugh Grant and grow up with unrealistic expectations for men and women all around the world. So, watch it.
Yes. Please like, subscribe, download, rate.
Follow us.
I don't know if you guys are rating us.
I'm rating us. I keep making different accounts.
Oh my God. But yeah, so yeah, do all that stuff. Thanks again for listening.
Interact with us on social media. We love the IG.
We love it.
By social media, I just mean Instagram.
We love you.
We love you so much.
We're very grateful. And
why haven't you called lately? We love you so much. I'm sorry.
I'm like,
we love you. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you for your patience for this week's episode. We love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.